My sister's luxury wedding was packed with guests, but as the vows were about to start, the groom vanished. Only I got a text from him. "Help me. I'm being forced into this marriage." Most people think weddings are about love, joy, and two families coming together, but I'm here to tell you that sometimes weddings are about secrets, about control, about someone being trapped. My name is Ava Mitchell, and this is the story of the day my sister's wedding turned into something none of us will ever forget. I wasn't supposed to be the hero that day. I was just the maid of honor, the older sister, the one holding the bouquet and making sure my little sister's dream wedding went smoothly. Her name is Emily Mitchell, 26, gorgeous, kind, a woman who'd spent her whole life imagining the perfect wedding, and it looked like she was getting it. Willowbrook Estate was the kind of venue that celebrities booked years in advance. The gardens were overflowing with imported flowers. Every chair along the aisle was lined with silk ribbons. A string quartet played softly as guests arrived, dressed in designer clothes and sparkling jewelry. Our parents, Judith and Charles Mitchell, spared no expense. They'd built a life where appearances mattered, success mattered, and this wedding was their masterpiece. Emily was marrying Nathan Carter, the son of a wealthy real estate magnate, handsome, polite, everything a family like ours wanted in a groom. But beneath the smiles and the speeches, something was wrong, and only I would notice it. That morning, as the makeup artists bustled around the bridal suite, I saw the first sign. Nathan's best man, Jason, arrived with a nervous smile and dark circles under his eyes. He kept glancing at the door, checking his phone. When I asked him if Nathan was ready, he just nodded too quickly. "He's fine, just last-minute stuff." It didn't feel like the truth. Emily was glowing. She didn't notice Jason's anxiety or the way our mother kept whispering into her phone. She was too focused on getting every detail perfect. "Isn't this the wedding you always wanted?" she asked me, eyes shining. I forced a smile. "Yes, it's beautiful." But inside, my gut twisted. Nathan had barely spoken to Emily all week. Every time they were together, he seemed distracted, almost scared. I tried to brush it off as nerves. Cold feet happened to a lot of grooms. But now, I wonder if I should have trusted my instincts sooner. At precisely 3:05 p.m., the ceremony began. Guests stood. The quartet played canon in D. Emily stood behind the heavy oak doors, holding my arm. "Ready?" she whispered. I nodded, even though I wasn't. The doors opened. Emily stepped out into the sunlight, her dress shimmering. The crowd gasped, not in shock, but admiration. Cameras flashed. Our father stood proudly at the end of the aisle, waiting to give her away. The officiant smiled. Bridesmaids and groomsmen lined both sides, but one side was empty. The groom's spot. Nathan wasn't there. At first, people thought he was running late. Traffic. Bathroom. Photographer delay. The whisper started. The officiant coughed politely and glanced toward the estate's side entrance. Jason, the best man, turned pale. Emily squeezed my hand. "Where's Nathan?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. I expected a text from Nathan apologizing, but what I saw froze my blood. "Ava, help me. I'm not missing. I'm escaping. I'm being forced into this marriage." My mouth went dry. I looked up. Jason was avoiding my eyes. Our mother was still on her phone, her knuckles white. The crowd murmured louder. Some guests were already standing, trying to see what was happening. Emily's smile faltered. "What's going on?" I couldn't tell her. Not yet. I typed back quickly. "Where are you? Tell me what's happening." No response. I tried calling, straight to voicemail. My heart pounded in my chest. This wasn't nerves. This wasn't a prank. This was a cry for help. The wedding coordinator approached the officiant, whispering urgently. Jason pulled out his phone, his hands shaking. Emily looked at me, her eyes pleading. "Ava, please, what's wrong?" I opened my mouth to answer, but before I could, there was a commotion near the back of the estate. Security guards were running. Someone shouted. A black SUV peeled out from behind the property, tires screeching against the pavement. I caught a glimpse of the driver, Nathan. His face was pale, terrified, determined. The crowd gasped. Our father grabbed his phone, barking orders. Our mother's face turned to stone. Jason cursed under his breath. "He wasn't supposed to do this," he muttered. I grabbed his arm. "What do you mean? Tell me now!" But Jason shook his head and backed away, disappearing into the crowd. That's when I knew. Nathan hadn't just gotten cold feet. Someone was forcing him into this marriage, and now he was running for his life, and only I had the chance to help him before it was too late. For a moment, the entire world seemed to freeze. Guests stood in stunned silence, some still clutching their wedding programs, others holding up their phones, recording what they thought would be a fairy tale ceremony. But there was no fairy tale, just the cold reality that Nathan Carter had fled. And only I knew why. Emily's face crumpled in confusion and humiliation. "Ava, what's happening? Where's Nathan?" I took her by the shoulders. "I don't know yet, but I'll find out." That was a lie. I had a sickening suspicion. Nathan had sent me that desperate message for a reason, and now it was my responsibility to figure out what he was running from. My parents quickly moved to control the damage. "Escort the guests inside," my mother ordered the wedding planner. "No one leaves, no one talks to the press." Charles, my father, grabbed his phone. "Get security, block the gates." But controlling the guests wouldn't stop the whispers, or the questions, or the lies that were about to spread. I pulled Emily aside, out of earshot. "I need you to trust me. Stay here. Don't answer any reporters. Don't post anything." Her lip trembled. "Ava, you're scaring me." "I'll explain soon, I promise." I slipped away from the chaos and dialed Nathan again. Voicemail. "Nathan, it's Ava. Please, tell me where you are. I can help." No answer. I tried texting. "I believe you. Tell me where to meet." Still nothing. I needed more information, and there was only one person who might know where Nathan had gone. Jason. I scanned the crowd, but Jason had vanished. Leaving the wedding was no easy feat. The Mitchell family had hired elite private security, guards stationed at every exit, but Jason was resourceful, and if he had knowledge of whatever was forcing Nathan into this marriage, he wouldn't want to be found. I grabbed the nearest security guard. "Find Jason. He's the best man. He might have information." The guard nodded and spoke into his radio. I took a breath, steadying myself. If Jason had run, that meant he was hiding something big. And if Nathan's message was true, this wedding had never been about love. It had been a trap. Back at the bridal suite, Emily had collapsed into a chair, her hands shaking. My mother stood nearby, expression hard as stone. "We need to manage the story," she said coldly. "This will ruin us." "Ruin us?" I repeated. "Your daughter was just abandoned at the altar. That's your concern?" Her gaze sharpened. "Our family has a reputation, Ava. That's more important than emotions right now?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Emily sobbed softly behind me. "Mom, something serious is going on. Nathan texted me." I stopped myself. Revealing the message could make things worse. If Nathan was in real danger, the last thing I wanted was my parents trying to fix the situation their way. Before I could decide what to do next, my phone buzzed again. A new message. Not from Nathan, from an unknown number. "Stay out of this, Ava. You don't know what you're dealing with." My blood went cold. Someone was watching me. I looked around the bridal suite. No one seemed to notice. But someone out there knew I was digging, and they wanted me to stop. I texted back, "Who are you?" No reply. I forwarded the message to my friend Claire Reynolds, a tech-savvy journalist who owed me a favor. "Trace this number. Urgent," I typed. She responded within seconds. "On it." Meanwhile, the security team returned. "We can't find Jason. He's not on the property." I cursed under my breath. "Check the parking lot and review the security footage." The guard nodded. Moments later, Claire called. "Ava, that number? It's a burner phone, no registration, purchased cash only from a corner store in downtown." Can you pull the store's security footage? I can try, but it'll take hours. Whoever sent that message is covering their tracks. Of course they were. I returned to Emily. Have you noticed anyone acting strangely? Nathan's family? His father? Friends? She hesitated. Nathan's dad. He's been pressuring us to move the wedding date sooner. He kept saying business deals depended on it. That was suspicious. Marriages shouldn't be tied to business deals. I dug deeper. What kind of deals? Emily shook her head. Nathan never told me. He just said everything would make sense after the wedding. But now, nothing made sense. Nathan had fled. Jason had disappeared, and someone had just threatened me to stay silent. I excused myself and found Charles Carter, Nathan's father, talking to my parents. Where's your son? I demanded. He straightened his tie, face impassive. If I knew, do you think I'd be standing here? Your family pushed this wedding forward. Why? His eyes darkened. That's none of your business. It became my business the moment Nathan begged me for help. That got his attention. For a split second, fear flashed in his eyes. I suggest you forget whatever Nathan told you, for everyone's sake. But I couldn't forget. Not now. Someone was trying to silence me, and that meant I was on the right track. Back in the bridal suite, my phone buzzed once more. A new text. Meet me at the Southbridge parking garage, top level, come alone. No name, but I knew who it was. Nathan. I turned to Emily. I'm going to find him. Be careful, she whispered. Please. I grabbed my purse, slipped out the side entrance, and hurried to my car. As I drove toward Southbridge, my mind raced. I was about to uncover the truth behind my sister's wedding, and whatever that truth was, it had already put us all in danger. The drive to Southbridge parking garage felt longer than it should have. I kept checking my rearview mirror, looking for tailing cars, watching for unfamiliar faces. The message had said, come alone, but I wasn't naive. Someone was already threatening me. Whoever sent that burner text clearly had the resources to track me, to silence me if I dug too deep, but I had to see Nathan. I had to understand why he ran, and what he meant when he said he was forced into the marriage. I pulled into the garage, my tires echoing against the concrete. The upper levels were almost empty. A few scattered cars, no people. The kind of place where anything could happen unseen. I gripped my phone. Claire was on standby, tracking my location. If I don't text in 10 minutes, call the police, I'd told her. Her reply had been immediate. Be careful, Ava. Seriously. At the top level, I spotted him. Nathan. He was standing beside an older sedan, not his usual luxury car. His suit jacket was gone, his tie loosened, his face pale and drawn. The confident man I'd once joked was too perfect to be real now looked like a fugitive. I parked and stepped out slowly. Nathan. He flinched at the sound of my voice, glancing around nervously. Ava. Thank God. What's going on? Why did you run? He motioned me closer. You need to hear everything, but we can't stay long. They might have followed you. Who's they? He exhaled shakily. My father and your parents. My stomach dropped. My parents? No, that can't be. Listen, he interrupted. Your parents and mine arranged this marriage. It wasn't about love, it was a business deal, a merger disguised as a wedding. A merger? The thought sounded absurd, outdated, medieval. But the more I thought about it, the more it explained everything. The rush to move the wedding date, the secrecy, the controlling behavior. Emily didn't know, I whispered. Nathan shook his head. Of course not. Neither did you. He pulled out his phone and showed me a document. This is why I ran. It was a private contract, signed by both sets of parents. Mitchell Holdings would inject capital into Carter Developments. In exchange, the Carters promised exclusive real estate deals, joint ventures, and Nathan's marriage to Emily as the symbolic union binding the families. There were clauses about breach of contract, financial penalties, even a non-disclosure agreement preventing Nathan or Emily from backing out without consequences. They put this together while Emily and I were still dating, Nathan said bitterly. We were nothing more than bargaining chips. I felt sick. Why didn't you tell Emily? I tried, but my father threatened to bankrupt your family if I said a word. He had leverage, loans, investments tied up in shady deals. If I pulled out, your parents would be ruined. Emily would suffer. So you thought staying silent was protecting her? He nodded, until I realized I couldn't go through with it. I'd rather lose everything than trap Emily in a lie. Before I could respond, a car engine roared below. Headlights swept across the ramp leading up to our level. Nathan's eyes widened. They found us! A black SUV, the same model from the wedding, sped up the ramp. Nathan grabbed my hand. Get in! Now! We dove into his sedan. He floored the accelerator. Tires screeched as we shot down the opposite ramp. Who's chasing us? I gasped. Security my father hired, or worse. We burst out onto the street, weaving through traffic. My phone buzzed. Claire. I see you're moving. What's happening? I typed back quickly. Being followed. Get police ready. Nathan turned sharply onto a side street, trying to lose the SUV. I have a safe place, just hold on. After a nerve-wracking chase, we pulled into an underground garage beneath an abandoned office building. Nathan killed the engine. The SUV didn't follow. For a moment, we sat in silence, both catching our breath. Then Nathan turned to me. There's more. The contract isn't just about money. It's about power, political influence. He pulled out a second document. Emails between his father and a local senator. Discussions about campaign donations, zoning law manipulations, and, chillingly, potential blackmail material collected on rival families. This marriage was meant to seal alliances beyond just business. Your family didn't just want wealth, they wanted control. I stared at the papers, my pulse pounding. Does Emily know any of this? No, and she can't, not yet. If she's seen as a liability, they might. He stopped himself. They might what? They might silence her. My mind reeled. My own parents, my sister's future in-laws. They weren't just greedy, they were dangerous. We have to go to the authorities, I said. We can't, Nathan said. Not yet. Without enough proof, they'll spin it as a family dispute. We need solid evidence. I nodded. Then we get it. Together. My phone buzzed again. Claire, police are ready if you need extraction. Just say the word. I typed back. Not yet. We need time, because if Nathan and I didn't uncover the full truth, Emily's life could be in danger, and so could ours. For the first time that day, I felt clarity. This wasn't just about a runaway groom. This was about power, corruption, and a secret my family, and Nathan's, would do anything to keep buried, and I couldn't let them succeed. Nathan leaned back, wiping sweat from his forehead. His hands trembled, but his voice stayed steady. The contract is just the tip of the iceberg, Ava. There are financial documents, offshore accounts, records of illegal donations. I've seen glimpses, but I could never access the full files. My father keeps them somewhere no one can trace. I frowned. Do you know where? I think I do now. He reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a flash drive. This contains metadata I copied months ago from my father's laptop. Names, transaction numbers. But the files reference a hidden server. If we can access it, we'll have the proof we need. Where's the server? My father owns a secondary estate, Carter Ridge, about an hour outside the city. He stores sensitive material there. Private office, secured files. I hesitated. Isn't that dangerous? If they catch us, they already know we're threats. Whether we sit still or act, the risk is the same. He was right. We couldn't wait for the authorities. Without undeniable evidence, they'd dismiss this as a family squabble or a corporate misunderstanding. The law wasn't on the side of people like us. It was on the side of money and power. Claire texted again. Update, do I send police? I replied, not yet. Investigating Carter Ridge. We'll update soon. Her reply was instant. Be safe. I'm on standby. Nathan started the car. The drive to Carter Ridge was tense. Neither of us spoke much. I kept thinking about Emily. about how my parents smiled as they led her toward a trap, and about Jason. Where had he gone? Why had he vanished? He knew more than he let on. As twilight fell, we reached the estate, a gated property surrounded by thick trees. "I know a back entrance," Nathan said. "I used it as a teen to sneak out." We left the car hidden behind a line of shrubs and approached a small service gate. Nathan punched in a code. The lock clicked open. Inside, the mansion loomed like a fortress. Dark, silent. "Most of the staff leaves after 6, Nathan whispered. "But there might be private security." We slipped through the side door and entered a narrow hallway lined with family portraits. Nathan led me to the study. "The server should be in the basement vault." We descended a narrow staircase. At the bottom, a reinforced steel door blocked our way. Nathan produced a key. "I copied this last year, just in case." The lock turned. The door creaked open. The vault was a small room lined with filing cabinets and a central desk holding a locked server case. Nathan crossed to the desk and inserted his flash drive into the access port. "If the files are here, I can download them." I stood guard at the door, my heart racing. Every second felt like a countdown. The server beeped. "Got it," Nathan said. "Financial records, contracts. And wait, there are surveillance logs." Surveillance of what? Our family's meetings, conversations, even security footage of private discussions. Someone recorded everything. Before we could examine further, footsteps echoed from above. "They know we're here," Nathan whispered. We heard voices, 2 men, one of them unmistakable, Charles Carter. "They'll head to the vault," Nathan said. "We have minutes at most." I grabbed a heavy flashlight from the desk and pocketed a small hard drive Nathan handed me. "This has copies of everything. Even if they take the server, they can't erase this." The door above creaked. Nathan and I exchanged a look. "Back door?" I asked. He nodded. "Follow me." We exited through a maintenance tunnel Nathan remembered from years ago. The air was damp and cold. As we emerged into the woods behind the estate, headlights flashed between the trees. "They brought more than security," Nathan said grimly. "Private enforcers, not the type who call the police." We sprinted toward the car. Behind us, shouts rang out. "Stop! You're trespassing!" But they wouldn't call the police. That would expose the very secrets they wanted to hide. Nathan and I dove into the sedan. As we sped away, a black SUV followed. Again. But this time, we were ready. I texted Claire. "Call police. We have the proof. Being pursued." She replied, "Police en route. Sending location to trusted contact." We raced down winding country roads, the SUV closing in. Suddenly, headlights appeared ahead. 2 police cruisers. The SUV braked hard, trying to turn away, but more officers arrived from the opposite side. They were trapped. Police pulled us over as well. I stepped out, clutching the hard drive. "Officers, we have evidence of fraud, coercion, and possible conspiracy. We need protection." One officer, a woman with sharp eyes and a steady voice, nodded. "Special Investigator Ramirez, we've been waiting for this break in the case. You're safe now." As the Carter enforcers were arrested, Nathan exhaled deeply. "It's over." But I knew better. No, it's just beginning. Because exposing the evidence was only the start. We still had to protect Emily and bring down everyone involved, even if they were my own family. The next 48 hours were a blur. After the police stopped the Carter enforcers, Nathan and I were taken to a safe house. Investigator Ramirez took our statements, secured the hard drive, and assigned a protection detail. But it wasn't just about staying safe anymore. It was about preparing for the battle ahead. The files we had uncovered from Carter Ridge were explosive. They showed illegal financial transactions, coerced contracts, manipulation of political figures, and perhaps most damning, audio recordings of conversations between Charles Carter and my parents. I listened in shock as my mother and father discussed the marriage deal like brokers negotiating a business merger. Their voices were cold, clinical. My mother, "Ensure the girl stays compliant. If Nathan shows resistance, remind him of the offshore account threats." My father, If Ava suspects anything, we'll discredit her. She's always been the emotional one. I should have felt devastated. Instead, I felt fire in my veins. They hadn't just betrayed Emily. They had underestimated both of us, and that would be their downfall. Claire continued assisting from the outside. She connected me with a legal team specializing in corporate fraud and personal coercion cases. Meanwhile, investigator Ramirez confirmed the district attorney's office was preparing charges, not just against the Carters, but against Judith and Charles Mitchell, my own parents. The night before the court hearing, Emily finally learned the truth. Nathan and I sat her down in the safe house. At first, she refused to believe it. Mom and Dad they couldn't. I showed her the documents, the recordings, the contract that had turned her life into a pawn in someone else's game. Her face crumpled. All those times they told me I was marrying for love, it was never true. They manipulated all of us, I said gently. But it ends now. The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom was packed with lawyers, journalists, and onlookers hungry for scandal. But for me, it wasn't about public spectacle. It was about justice. Nathan testified first. He detailed the pressure he faced, the threats against both families, the discovery of the hidden server. His voice never wavered. Then came my turn. As I swore in and took the stand, I glanced at the defense table. My parents sat there, my mother stiff-backed, my father avoiding my eyes. Charles Carter looked defiant, but Jason was absent. No one knew where he had gone. The prosecutor, Mr. Eldridge, began gently. Miss Mitchell, when did you first suspect the marriage was coerced? The moment Nathan texted me from the altar asking for help. And what did you discover afterward? I outlined everything. The contract, the financial records, the burner phone threats, the chase, the vault, the hard drive. Every word felt like shedding another layer of betrayal. The defense attorney, Ms. Langston, tried to shake me. Miss Mitchell, isn't it true you have a strained relationship with your parents? That you might hold a bias? Yes, our relationship has been difficult. But facts don't lie. Documents don't lie. Recordings don't lie. The jury watched closely. Ms. Langston pressed on. Could Nathan Carter have fabricated these materials to avoid marriage? I shook my head. No, multiple experts have authenticated the files. Independent investigators verified every detail. As the questioning ended, I caught a glimpse of Emily sitting quietly in the gallery. Tears streamed down her face, but they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of clarity. Jason was called next. To everyone's surprise, he appeared. He looked disheveled, guilt-ridden. I want to tell the truth, he said. I helped cover up some of the Carter family's activities. I deleted emails. I lied to Nathan. I even tried to intercept Ava's attempts to contact him before the wedding. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Why come forward now? The prosecutor asked. Because I couldn't live with myself anymore. By the time closing arguments were made, the evidence was undeniable. The Carters and my parents had orchestrated a conspiracy for profit and influence at the expense of their own children's lives and freedom. The jury deliberated for 5 hours. When they returned, the foreman stood. We find all defendants guilty on all counts. My mother finally broke down. My father sat frozen. Charles Carter clenched his jaw in fury. Jason bowed his head. The judge sentenced them immediately. Financial penalties, prison terms, a lifetime of reputations destroyed. As the courtroom emptied, Emily embraced me. Thank you for never giving up. I never will, I whispered. Nathan took my hand. This isn't the end. It's a new beginning. And for the first time in weeks, I believed him. Most people think a guilty verdict is the end. That once the judge declares the sentence, justice is done and life moves on. But I learned that some battles don't end in the courtroom. They just shift into the shadows. 3 days after the verdict, Nathan, Emily, and I remained under federal protection. Investigator Ramirez assigned us to a secure residence. Not quite a safe house, but close. Security cameras, reinforced doors, constant monitoring. Temporary, Ramirez promised. until we confirm no retaliation is planned. But deep down, I knew better. People who lose power often lash out, and the people we'd exposed had lost everything. Emily tried to stay positive. "We can finally breathe," she said one morning, standing in the kitchen with a steaming mug of tea. But her hands still trembled. The damage to her trust ran deeper than any prison sentence could heal. Nathan stayed vigilant, rarely letting Emily or me leave his sight. I admired his resilience, but I also saw the toll it was taking. Meanwhile, Claire kept digging. Even after the court victory, she continued investigating the Carter family's associates and the offshore accounts we'd uncovered. "Some of their allies weren't charged," she warned. "There are still people with something to lose." Her words proved prophetic. A week after the verdict, I received a package. No return address. Inside, a single photograph. A picture of Nathan, Emily, and me, taken at the courthouse steps after the verdict. Across it, someone had scrawled in red marker, "This isn't over." My breath caught. I called Ramirez immediately. Within an hour, federal agents swept the house. "It could be a bluff," Ramirez said. "Or it could be a serious threat. Either way, we're tightening security." But tightening security didn't calm the knot in my stomach. Someone was watching us. Someone who wanted revenge. Claire traced the package's origin to a mail drop 2 towns over. The security footage was grainy. A figure in a black hoodie, face obscured. No leads. That night, Nathan paced the living room. "We can't keep living like this." "We won't have to forever," I assured him. "But we have to be careful now." Emily nodded. "I'd rather be cautious than complacent." The next day, Ramirez confirmed our worst fear. One of Charles Carter's former enforcers, Raymond Holt, had skipped bail. He'd disappeared a week before sentencing, and he had a history of retaliating against witnesses. "He could be the one behind the photo," Ramirez said grimly. "We're issuing an arrest warrant." But arrest warrants didn't guarantee safety. We had to stay proactive. Nathan and I began taking defensive driving courses. Emily learned basic self-defense. Claire taught us digital security, encrypting devices, spotting surveillance, avoiding predictable routines. It wasn't the life any of us wanted, but it was the life we needed, for now. Meanwhile, Claire uncovered more disturbing information. "There's chatter on private forums," she told me. "Certain Carter associates are pooling resources. It looks like a bounty. For you." My blood ran cold. "How much?" 50,000. Maybe more. Ramirez intensified our protection. "You've become a symbol," she said. "To the public, you represent standing up to corruption. To these people, you represent betrayal." Despite the danger, we refused to hide completely. Emily and I started attending counseling sessions together, rebuilding trust, processing trauma. Nathan continued working remotely, consulting with financial fraud victims. Claire published a powerful article, "When Family Betrays: The Mitchell-Carter Conspiracy." The public response was overwhelming. Strangers sent letters of support, offers to help, stories of similar betrayals. We weren't alone, and we wouldn't let fear control us. But fear wasn't the only thing growing. So was our resolve. One evening, Claire called with news. "I found something. Holt has ties to an abandoned property outside Ridgeview. It could be where he's hiding." Ramirez authorized a raid. Federal agents stormed the property at dawn. But Holt was gone. Only a note remained. "Still watching." That night, Emily sat on the porch, staring at the stars. "Do you ever think we'll feel normal again?" she asked softly. "Normal's overrated," I replied with a sad smile. "But peace? We'll get there." As we prepared to enter protective custody again, Nathan squeezed my hand. "They tried to trap us, control us, break us. But they failed," I finished, "and they always will." The battle wasn't over, but neither were we. 6 months later, the leaves outside our new house had started to turn gold. Not the mansion we once called home. Not the safe house where fear controlled every moment. A modest place in a quiet neighborhood. But it was ours. And for the first time in a long time, It felt like more than just walls and windows. It felt like freedom. The Carter and Mitchell names were headlines for months. Real estate royalty crumble under scandal. Arranged marriage plot leads to prison sentences. Daughter breaks silence, exposes corruption. Reporters speculated, bloggers analyzed, talk shows debated, but eventually the news cycle moved on, and we were left to pick up the pieces. Emily took the longest to heal. The betrayal had nearly broken her, but with counseling, she started regaining her strength. She moved into a small apartment nearby, decorated it herself, picked every color, every piece of furniture. "No one gets to decide my life anymore," she told me one day, adjusting a framed photo of the two of us from childhood. I smiled. Exactly. Nathan rebuilt too. He began working with a nonprofit, helping young adults escape financial coercion and fraudulent contracts. "No one should ever feel trapped the way we were," he said. The organization even hired Claire as a consultant. Her research had become invaluable. As for me, I found purpose in telling our story. Not for fame, not for pity, but so others wouldn't feel alone. I started speaking at universities, legal conferences, and survivor support groups. I called my talks, "When Family Hurts, Recognizing Coercion in Trusted Relationships." The response was overwhelming. People from all backgrounds, young, old, wealthy, struggling, shared their own stories of betrayal disguised as love. One young woman, Jasmine, stayed after a seminar. She nervously told me her parents had pressured her into a business partnership she didn't understand. She was drowning in debt because of it. "I thought family obligations were supposed to come first," she whispered. I took her hands gently. "Obligations don't mean surrendering your life. You have the right to set boundaries, even with family." Her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't think anyone would understand." "I do," I promised. "And you're not alone." Meanwhile, investigator Ramirez kept her promise. Her team continued monitoring for threats. Eventually, Raymond Holt was captured attempting to flee the country. He accepted a plea deal and provided names of additional Carter associates still hiding assets. Justice wasn't fast or easy, but it was happening. In time, the protective detail was scaled back. We were cautious, but no longer caged. I even reclaimed photography, a passion I'd abandoned during the chaos. My first exhibit was titled Fracture and Freedom. It sold out. I donated the proceeds to Claire's nonprofit, not because I wanted to forget the past, but because I wanted to transform it into something powerful. One evening, Nathan and I sat on the back deck, watching the sunset behind the hills. Emily joined us with mugs of tea. "Remember when weddings terrified us?" she joked. We all laughed. "I still think about that day," Emily admitted. "But not with anger anymore. Just relief." "Relief?" I asked. "That we escaped." Nathan nodded. "They tried to trap us in contracts, in expectations, in fear, but we wrote our own contract instead." "What contract?" Emily asked, smiling. Nathan looked at me. "The one where we protect each other. Always." I squeezed his hand. "And no signatures required." The past had shaped us, but it didn't own us anymore. A year later. Most people thought the story was over. The headlines faded. The court files collected dust, but the real ending wasn't in the courtroom. It was in the quiet choices we made every day. Emily thrived in her new independence. She opened her own event planning business, small at first, but growing steadily. No corporate investors, no strings attached. "Every client signs a clear, honest contract," she told me with a smile. "No secrets, no manipulation." Nathan's nonprofit expanded. He now led workshops nationwide, teaching others how to recognize coercion in both family and business relationships. "Prevention is power," he said often. Claire's investigative team provided resources and legal referrals for those trapped in manipulative agreements. Together, they changed lives. And me? I kept speaking. But I also started listening more. At every seminar, after every panel, people approached me, telling their stories, stories that echoed mine, stories that proved coercion wears many masks: obligation, loyalty, tradition, even love. One afternoon, I returned home from a university lecture and found Nathan and Emily waiting on the porch. A manila envelope rested on the table between them. I frowned. "What's this?" Emily smiled softly. "The last of the legal matters. Probate finalized. Our parents' remaining assets, what little was left, have been processed." I hesitated. "I don't want their money." "That's not why we wanted you to see this," Nathan said. He opened the envelope. Inside was a single document. A letter. Not from a lawyer. Not from a judge. From Jason. "Ava, I know I can never undo the harm I caused, but I want you to know I've dedicated my life to making things right. I've testified in every case I was asked to. I've donated the proceeds from selling my apartment to victims of the Carter schemes. Most importantly, I've started counseling. I'm learning how to break the cycle of enabling power and control. Thank you for standing up when I was too cowardly to." I set the letter down, my throat tight. "People can change," Emily whispered. "If they choose to," I agreed. That evening, Nathan and I walked to the hilltop park overlooking the town. The same park where he had once told me the truth about the forced marriage. The same place where fear had nearly consumed us. Now it felt different. It felt like victory. "What now?" Nathan asked as we sat on a bench beneath the stars. "We live," I said simply. "On our terms." He smiled. "Our contract. No signatures required." Most people think family means unconditional love, but sometimes it means learning when to walk away. Sometimes protecting yourself isn't betrayal, it's survival, and survival can be the beginning of something powerful, reclaiming your life. For anyone listening who feels trapped by loyalty, expectations, or fear, know this: you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to break free. You are allowed to rebuild. I did, and you can too. If this story resonated with you, please share it. You never know who might need to hear these words today. And if you want to hear more stories about courage, survival, and reclaiming power, follow the channel and turn on notifications. Your next chapter starts now.